Welcome everybody to the European Masters. We are into the second half of the day and our second semi-final is just on the horizon. LDLC have booked their place in the final. They got revenge yesterday, k1ck knocking out the other seed Gamers Origin from the LFL, and they have booked the LFL that place in the final, which is going to be incredible tomorrow. You all have to tune in. But for now, me and Trouble are going to look towards the next semi-final, which is going to be Movistar Riders taking on k1ck. And Trouble, let's start off with Movistar Riders, because I think Tinks set it up really nicely. He said that he thought they had the edge, and he's really, really excited to potentially meet Eloya in the finals. But Movistar right now, this is the best they've ever done in the European Masters, with the weight of the SLO on their back as well.
I mean, and they're still carrying the tradition through for the SLO as well. They've always made, quarters. Top 4 has always been there from the Spanish region, and it's being carried through to the second seed of the SLO this time. And I don't know if you guys have realized, but it's the second seed for this year into the EU Masters, because all 3 teams remaining are coming as seconds from the regions respectively. And of course, Movistar Riders are, in my opinion, the team that has progressed the most, has adapted the most, and has evolved the most throughout the tournament. Specifically on their carries, it seemed a little bit sloppy, but the individual skill has risen so much throughout the tournament. And just to touch on what Tinks said as well, I'm loving the mentality that he's going into the finals with, saying that I don't care to beat the so-called quote-unquote weakest team out of the 2. I really want a fire matchup versus Eloya.
Yeah, I think he's just excited to see what Eloya can do, and we are as well. Movistar Riders have looked better and better with every hurdle they have crossed so far. Like I said, I think their previous best performance was in 2018, maybe, where they were in the quarterfinals. Yeah. So making it to the semis is the best performance for this organization. And in the SLO, they have a track record of making it to finals. 2 out of the 4 finals that we've previously had have featured an SLO team in the form of Mad Lions, who won it, and Vodafone Giants, who came second to Berlin International Gaming. And if you count Origin, if you count Origin from the very first European Masters, they technically won it as well, although whether you'd count them as an SLO team or not is definitely debatable. But irrespective, Movistar Riders right now, they are looking to reclaim that redemption arc for the SLO and get back to finals and continue to prove the Spanish region is capable of posting strong teams and strong talent. But on the flip side, we've got k1ck. We're heading towards Champions Select, by the way, Trouble. But k1ck are a team that have come from play-ins. They made the hard journey. They're following in the footsteps of Berlin International Gaming, and they are really, I think, the embodiment of Polska Górom. It is a full Polish roster who have continually surprised and I kind of impressed us with their play throughout this tournament.
And they also are on a mission as well, right? Because a Go Rogue just got out of the tournament. And k1ck is the only one remaining to take revenge for them, because k1ck did eliminate the first seed of the LFL. So they're moving forward to try and face Movistar Riders. Of course, there's, again, I think it's kind of a similar situation that we had with k1ck and Gamers Origin. It's kind of the same play styles from Movistar and Gamers Origin, where they like going for that late game. They don't take unnecessary fights. They will concede most of the fights that they can take in order to scale towards that late game where they like to fight in, and k1ck just go all out for like early game aggression. I would say that the difference that I feel in both the junglers, since we are going to talk about the junglers, we started this from the start, I feel like Shlatan does need a ticket from Matislaw to get unlocked into the map, whilst Eloya gains his own ground on his own. He doesn't necessarily need the assistance to take control of a game. So I think it is make or break for Matislaw to allow Shlatan to get unlocked through the map.
Yeah, I'm really, really interested, because I think both of these teams have very strong mid-jungle duos. I think Xico stepped up. For Movistar Riders, I think a lot of it has been about Eloya, this incredible jungle talent. I see Eloya the same way that I saw Tinks from 2018 spring. A newer jungler talent coming out of a region that's impressed everybody at this level, and I think Eloya is kind of following in those footsteps as well. We are through the draft phase. We're not going to see Shlatan's Gragas against Bandaway. We're not going to see Matislaw's Zoe against Bandaway, but I tell you what we are going to see, Eloya's Graves. 6 games played, 80% win ratio for Movistar Riders. It's a good start to the draft if you're a Spanish fan.
Oh, sorry, I just woke up. I saw the Gragas locked in, so I kind of fell asleep. But if it's an Eloya pick, nothing else is. This is the Eloya pick. You see the Graves, you're like, okay, I know he's gonna be playing it, right? It's gonna be Eloya. He likes playing that. He doesn't necessarily play very passive in the early game where he does find the opening. I've seen him invade with the Graves as well. So I think it depends on what Shlatan chooses to go with here. The Lissandra would be a double-edged sword because of the blind when you land with your Q onto a target. So it could be a skill matchup where you're not necessarily sure you're going to win the trade if you take the Q. So I want to wait and see if possibly k1ck want to leave this as a second rotation to pick the jungler for Shlatan and lock something in for Matislaw that he feels very confident playing, such as the Azir or the Corki that he showed before.
Okay, so a couple of crazy pickups here. That's going to be Sett locked in for Movistar Riders. With the fact that Aibo has taken the Ornn, that's the most played for beansu on the top side of the map, followed by the Maokai. So Aibo will be a more tank-orientated duty this time round, rather than the traditional Aatrox that we've seen him from. But Xico's going to get hold of the Cassiopeia, which has been something that has been banned a lot against Movistar Riders, and in general, actually, something that we saw quite a lot of bans for coming from k1ck as well. So they're going to get that, and it will be Shlatan locking in the Lee Sin as well, like you said.
Just Cassiopeia is so good at controlling all these hop, skips, and jumps from a lot of champions. The engage, nullifying it with the petrifying gaze. You know, Lee Sin cannot fly at you if he's not necessarily looking at you. It's also, again, a double-edged sword for the Cassiopeia because the Lee Sin can bait the petrifying gaze by taking a Q and then in back onto a ward or a teammate. So I can't wait to see how this goes because it's Shlatan's Lee Sin versus none other than Eloya's Graves. And I think at this point, it would be good to try and hit onto Matislaw's champ pool, but there's both Corki and Azir up and available, and they're both open for him to take.
We were actually mentioning JaVaaa as well, by the way, Trouble, and I think obviously the Corki being there for Matislaw is obviously big, but JaVaaa has had 3 AD carry bans now banned against him. He's lost the Kai'Sa, sorry, he's lost the Kalista, the Varus, and the Misfortune. And the Aphelios has already been taken. The only other pick that he has actually played in this tournament is the Tristana. So we are starting to expand the pool from JaVaaa, trying to force him off the things like Misfortune that he was so successful on in those quarterfinal games. And actually, we're going to see the LeBlanc locked in for Matislaw as well. Very interesting now that we're seeing some targeting towards JaVaaa specifically, though, coming out from k1ck. And that's oh yes. Sorry, I'm a Sion one trick. I kind of just threw my hands up in the air.
You and the Antonio both, scoundrel.
We're seeing the Sion, which I'm assuming means that we're going to get a Sett support for rhuckz here, and then we're going to see what gets locked in for Movistar.
Wait, what's going on right here? Oh, it's a Cassiopeia bot lane. I'm loving this. They bait in the Cassio, pull out the LeBlanc from Matislaw, which, by the way, we talked a little bit about this. We're like, you know, the picks that Matislaw usually brings out are the Azir, the Zoe, and the Corki. Great. We've seen him on them. He's doing great. He's feeling comfortable. What else can he play? Well, I'll tell you what else can he play. The entirety of AP mid lane champions that there is in the pool right now, this guy has pulled it out in the Ultra Liga. So he can't play them. He's bringing out the LeBlanc, and that was a very, very clever flex from Movistar Rider to pull the Cassiopeia down the bot lane.
It's huge because what I would say is I was talking to a couple of people before we jumped into this, and a lot of people saying that one of the weaknesses of Puki style is he doesn't play non-traditional lady carries, whether JaVaaa, he's got that kind of stuff in his kit. And now Movistar are flexing their muscles in the draft right now. This is probably going to be one of the most difficult challenges I think k1ck have had, because right now k1ck are going to have to get some kind of excellent lead in the early game, because we have started to see k1ck struggle when we get later on with their decision making, as well as the fact that Aibo is not on something as impactful like the Aatrox, so it's going to be a bit harder for him to have the immediate impact that he's always had from that top side of the map. This is an exciting draft to open up here as we're jumping on to the Rift. What do you make of these two team compositions, Trouble? I think you've kind of briefly touched on it, but if we're looking towards win conditions, where are we looking for Movistar Riders and k1ck?
Obviously, I feel like with Movistar Riders, the focus falls down bot lane. You've got a very kill-oriented bot lane. You've got the Sett that we saw also 2 days ago can set up ganks really well. He can play very aggressive. He can put down the damage as well as set up the Cassiopeia. With Cassiopeia, even earlier into the game, if you hit one Q, you can continuously punish with the claws your enemy. So Eloya, if you look across all lanes, he has set up for wherever he chooses to go. I doubt he will want to go towards the top side because it will take way too long to kill that Ornn. I think this is the case for both the junglers right here. But something we've been touching on, and I'll be touching it on over and over again, is how Matislaw this time is not on a wave clear champion. That LeBlanc is not going to be able to outpush Xico's Lissandra right here. So how is Shlatan going to use this to his advantage to try and unlock himself around the other lanes?
Yeah, I'm actually interested in that as well, because classically Matislaw has always had the ability to gain prio in the mid lane, but Xico is a mid laner that I think, you know, especially from the SLO, one of the best mid laners at gaining priority there, and he's picked up into this matchup to do just that. So, like you said, and it feeds back to that point that you were just mentioning, I do feel like a lot of this European Masters has been jungler focused, like better jungler wins. Can junglers get leads for their teams early on? Can their teams capitalize on it? And like you said with Shlatan, often it comes with this Matislaw having just the complete rock solid control of mid lane, allowing Shlatan to move across the map for free and do what he wants. Now he's up against Eloya, an incredible jungle talent from the SLO, and he's going up into Xico, who generally controls mid lane very well. So this might be more difficult for them to have the impact that they had in some of their previous matchups, and I really love that you touched on that, Georgia, because I think it's going to be very, very interesting for this particular matchup, where I do genuinely feel that jungle is going to make such a big impact.
You have to pay attention right here, because bot lane, bot lane and mid lane both hit level 2 first. And if you see that, Shlatan went straight from his red buff down blue side, which means he has priority over the whole bot side of the map. Does Eloya want to show up? Eloya sees that, starts bot lane to go towards the top. So you can see how cleverly both of these junglers are playing. Eloya might be smelling a fishy dive right here.
I think he is. He's definitely smelling out. Shlatan does jump over the wall.
Eloya,
he's seen this. He's seen the dive, and he's coming to respond to it. That's great pressure from Eloya. He understands exactly where Shlatan was. It was the obvious play to make as Shlatan, and Eloya read it like a book. That's going to keep JaVaaa and rhuckz a little bit safer here, when they genuinely could have been in a tough scenario with JaVaaa already burning that flash.
And we talked a little bit about how Xico is going to take control of the mid lane early on. It's just so hard to fight against that electrocute rune, because it does pop a lot of damage from the LeBlanc as well. So Xico is going to have to try and fight through the very early stages of the laning phase to try and push Matislaw's LeBlanc further behind. So I think once he is back, I'm not sure what road he's going to choose to go with. I've seen Rod of Ages first item, I've seen the Proto Belt, I've seen straight Hourglass. I'm thinking something like a Proto Belt might be a great start here from Xico, because there's a lot of squishes and immobile targets from the side of K1ck that it would make it just that much easier to approach for an ultimate.
I think I agree with you. I think Proto Belt seems like a good choice here. Also means you can dodge LeBlanc bindings in certain scenarios as well. So it's just a solid item all round into that particular mid lane matchup. Again, Xico did get level 2'd by Matislaw, so he did lose a little bit of pressure there, but eventually this matchup's going to start to even out. You'll start to see the Lissandra push in the LeBlanc, as much as the LeBlanc can push in the Lissandra as well. So Matislaw right now does have the priority. That has allowed, like you said, Shlatan to unlock a little bit on the bottom side of the map, but Xico should find a way back in eventually.
Yeah, he's fallen a couple of CS behind, but this is to be expected. LeBlanc can output an insane amount of damage early, and if you fall too far low on your HP bar, then you are susceptible to being ganked pre-6 as Lissandra. So Xico, like you mentioned again, he's playing very methodical, laid back. He's allowing some time to go through. Eloya doesn't really care about it. He's playing the Graves. He's playing the scaling game. He wants to go towards that late game. So literally all Movistar have to do is just chill back, relax, farm the waves, and not allow K1ck and their over-aggressive playstyle in the early game to take over.
Well, like we said, it is about that early gold lead that K1ck always generally tend to get in their favor. We saw it in all of their previous games. The gold at 15 has been in their favor almost always, whereas for Movistar riders, not so much. They're usually even at 15, and their games go a little bit longer than their Polish counterparts. Speaking of the Ultraliga in general, and I think this is a nice time to reflect on their performance in the European Masters, irrespective of the outcome here. This is the most teams the Ultraliga has, or at least the Polish scene has posted at this level before in the European Masters. And also, if they were to make it to finals, this would be the best performance that they've had since Illuminar Gaming made it to the first finals at the very first European Masters. So this has just been such an excellent performance from the Ultraliga and the Polish scene in general that they should be proud regardless of what happens here, because they are really showing how they can export such strong talent. And I think K1ck are very exciting for that, because they are 5 Polish players as well. That makes all the difference when it comes to the talent that you build up in your national scene. So I've just been so impressed with the Ultraliga as a whole, Georgia. I genuinely think they've stepped up so heavily in this particular tournament.
They're definitely making a statement here, and I'm gonna be honest with you, I'm loving the game style they're bringing to the table. Everyone's going heavy late game, heavy tanks, heavy utility, just 2 carries. K1ck are going full carries. Even Raxxo here can do damage onto the Morgana in the early game. I'm loving that refreshment they're bringing into the scene, playing that early game, that exciting game style that I, at least as a caster, really like to do. I mean, I understand how teams want to play the methodical slow game. This is where you try your nerves, right? How patient can you be? How to the T can you execute your strategies? And Movistar have been doing just that. But I have to give props to K1ck for trying something new in a meta that's been so oversaturated by patience and really long game time as a scoundrel.
Yeah, I think we just saw Shlatan here utilising that pressure that Matislaw has generated for him in the mid lane once more, as well as the fact that his bot lane had prio. But Eloya just responds really nicely. He utilises beansu on that Sion, just move in and take that red in response. So he's read where Shlatan is. He knows what Shlatan is looking for. I'm guessing it's the same plays that he would make in that scenario too. And he's just keeping toe-to-toe with Shlatan on this Lee Sin so far. And we are really just seeing... I think this is a very tempered early game right now from K1ck. Usually we see a bit more action, but with Rift Herald spawning in 15 seconds, I imagine that this will be a target for the K1ck bot lane as they maybe look to back here and rotate topside.
And honestly, they don't have to take any unnecessary dives, because this is what it would have to take for K1ck at this point to find a kill. Movistar are not really throwing themselves at any objectives. They're not trying to contest any of them. They're literally just sitting underneath the towers, taking the CS that's coming their way. If you look across the lanes, every single lane on the bot side of the map is behind in CS. So yes, K1ck have been doing good on that department. But on the other side, Eloya is doing Eloya stuff onto the graves. He's just continuously been farming it up, and he's going to be scaling onto that lake, and very nice and juicy with a ton of damage on him. Something that we didn't mention, when this dragon was going down, Eyeball had already started moving due to his lack of TP. So you can see the movement in the early game to try and furthermore get that early lead that usually K1ck have.
So yeah, I think also what's really interesting is this is classic K1ck as well. They often, if they don't set up for Rift Herald, find themselves in a situation where they will end up focusing on towers and plates more so than anything. K1ck are one of those teams that are happy to say, okay, Rift Herald set up, not what we want, but let's go for plates, take free gold on the map that way, and then maybe look for tower dives. So they lose their first Rift Herald, which some people would say is sometimes a bit of a bummer, because you end up losing the ability to get a free push on the tower. But K1ck are one of those teams that sometimes do just give that away for priority in lane and continuing to get plates where they can. And we've seen them do that a lot as well. I think we saw it in the previous series as well, where they just said, okay, fine, we don't really care about Rift Herald, let's just go for plates. And they're trying to do that on the bot side of the map here, generating that lead for Puki style over JaVaaa in terms of CS and the plates taken.
Can we just give props to how beansu has been playing the laning phase so far? He's ahead in CS, he's ahead in experience, he's been able to proxy behind Eyeball as well, and he's managed to get himself one plate as well. And it's usually, we've been pointing at Eyeball when we're looking for the highest lead. Oh,
yeah, rhuckz jumps in, double flash burn, and the black shield, yeah. Double flash burn, and the black shield essentially just stopped that one right in its tracks.
It's like an invitation for Shlatan to come bot lane. It's like, oh yes, both the bot laners burst their flashes right there. You can calm down bot with that Lee, and we can set something really juicy up. But back to Aibo, he's usually the one that has the highest gold difference at mint 15, and at this point he's behind beansu on that matter. So huge props to the Movistar top lane right there for containing Aibo, because that was a conversation me and you had. It's like, sure, Aibo might not stomp, but can you contain him?
Well, I think in this matchup, and look, I'm not going to go into too much detail, being my Ornn.
Give me your Sion knowledge. Come on, do it.
As an Ornn, you just can't outpush this Sion, right? Everything in Sion's kit pushes waves, so early on, you're just going to be sat under tower as the Ornn in this matchup, and it's very difficult to trade as well, because Sion has a shield, loads of CC available as well, so it's just a tough matchup in the early game for Aibo to play into. I don't think Aibo is expecting to win this on the 1v1 scenario, so I think it's just natural for beansu to generate a lead here. What I think is most important for Aibo is that he retains his utility and becomes useful in the mid game, because we talked about the impact on the top side of the map.
Check the Sion.
Yeah, here comes that Sion. That's a really nice added feature of having this in the top lane, is that you can just essentially teleport free, make your way down to another side of the map, and now they're going to rotate down to bot, and I think they're switching things up here.
They're switching things up. I don't necessarily think they wanted to put the Sion down the bot lane. I don't think there's a necessity for that at this point.
No, there's not.
it could be a great flank if K1ck decided to commit to that fight, because at that point Aibo doesn't have a lot of mana up top lane. He didn't have teleport at this certain point in time as well, so it would be a 4v5 in favor of Movistar. K1ck, they take the hand or the finger off the trigger. Very clever there. Don't take the unnecessary fight. And this has pretty much been the name of the game. It's a K1ck game. 12 minutes in, 0 kills, Scoundrel.
I know, absolutely, but they do have the gold lead. And on average, they are up about 1,500 gold at 15 minutes. So whatever K1ck are doing, they are starting to generate a very small gold lead in their favor. I'm guessing coming from those CS discrepancies, especially on the bot side of the map that you're seeing, they're going to summon the Rift Herald mid here, Movistar Riders, and Matislaw not in a position to clear with no support either. This might be difficult for him, although I think should be able to just clear things out and take that Rift Herald easy enough. They're not going to commit to the push here with those plates being very tanky, Georgia. They can't actually commit the manpower to take it.
Again, I do like the usage of Rift Herald when you have the scaling comp for plates rather than the tower. You use it early on and you start feeding some very needed cash on some item hungry champions, such as the Lissandra, such as the Cassiopeia, the Graves, all of these late game scaling champions that need a couple of items to start shining. So I really don't mind the trade right here for just the plates and getting some gold.
Yeah, absolutely. I think you're completely correct. And I think in certain scenarios, there may not be an opportunity to get the first tower of the game. You may not find that set up for you. So you just take those free plates where you can get them. I think a lot of people do sometimes see Rift Herald at minimum, you know, like a 3-plate machine. It's just going to give you plates at some point in the game. Although Xico's going to bounce away from Matislaw here. And again, that matchup, you're just going to start pushing the LeBlanc in. You're doing your best to prevent Matislaw from getting too many roams off and sort of impacting the side lane matchups. As Xico, you just want to be constantly threatening and pushing those waves and matching roams if possible, but overall just trying to make it difficult for Matislaw to move out of his lane.
And so far, I think...
focus...
Yeah.
Oh, go.
No, I feel like Matislaw has had a pretty good time in the mid lane so far. If anything, I think Matislaw has been controlling Xico, but yet again, Xico doesn't really care to take these trades. He'll just take whatever kind of CS comes his way. He took the plates from the tower platings as well, falling down due to Herald. So he's a happy man, you know, he's just farming it up. He's letting LeBlanc sit on a lane, not roaming. That is mission complete for Xico right there.
Yeah, and obviously he has teleport as well, so he can either get back to lane and start shoving it in,
you say
or match
that.
Yeah, exactly. Match the roams from Matislaw as well. Matislaw has had good impact in lane, but little impact outside. And when you're playing up against a LeBlanc, that's always a good result. You know, LeBlanc hasn't gone to the side lanes like we saw Viteo do, I think in his quarterfinal game, where he just absolutely dominated. We haven't seen that from Matislaw, because he has just been locked in by Xico into that mid lane. I kind of want to talk a little bit about, as we kind of get towards this Rift Herald here, I don't think Movistar are going to contest it, although I say that they may do. What do we think about Aibo being on something like a I'm going to stop there because I don't want to start this conversation up. It does look like Movistar Riders are interested in contesting this Rift Herald with the teleport coming through right now. Matislaw is on the sidelines waiting for it. There's the Sion, going to bounce them away. Huge damage onto Raxxo, but that is it. And immediately Ivo turns back. It's a good call of the Forge God, but no ability to step up on it. And now it's going to be Xico diving in. Gets a big ultimate off as well. And beansu there, going to get the knock-up, but the damage is gone. Eloya now in the middle of the team. There's nothing left for Movistar Riders. JaVaaa was on the other side of the fight, locked out by Matislaw. And this is going to be K1ck taking a big W in a very important fight.
I'm gonna say it over and over and over again. I don't care what anyone tells me about Ivo popping off, about Shlatan being an aggressive jungler, about Puki style and Raxxo doing what they want to do. The job that Matislaw does for this team is insane. He spots JaVaaa and he's like, listen, this Cassiopeia ain't going nowhere, because he knew that the rest of K1ck could deal with the 4v4 down bot. And not only they can deal with a 4v4, they turn it into a 5v4, locking JaVaaa completely out of the fight on less than 50% HP. That was a pure cleanup right here from K1ck, and very well played by their mid laner as well.
Yeah, Matislaw just knew that he has the 1v1 advantage versus the Cassiopeia right now, and there was nothing that JaVaaa could do about it. He steps out of that brush, he's probably dead. He could not join his fight, a team in that situation, and Movistar Riders, they just didn't quite have the setup necessary, and I think K1ck taking that Rift Herald will be very happy now, because it's going to allow them to accelerate that gold lead, which is now sitting at about 2,000. Let's get back to Ivo, because there have been questions about him. He has kind of been touted as the huge performer when needed for the K1ck roster. You know, his Aatrox games in the quarterfinals were all that we needed to see for what he's capable of. On something like Ornn, though, he's not going to have that more immediate impact. He's going to have to play around his team a bit more. He's had the impact already in that fight with a really great ultimate. Maybe we're going to see him do it again with his ultimate coming up just sometime soon here. Ivo has to have the impact, I feel, for K1ck to really accelerate their wins, and I feel like he is in a good position to do so in this game.
Yeah, I was about to say, I'm not sure K1ck really want to take this fight because Matislaw was not there, but now he's here.
Well, I don't think Movistar Riders want this fight. Ivo on the front line feeling unkillable as they back out. There's going to be a huge knockout from beansu to stop them or getting in, and that's going to be a zoning queue for him there. But they aren't done yet. K1ck are looking for some kind of way into this fight as Raxxo dives in, gets a really good knockup. That's the blast cone. Will it keep them alive as beansu gets, or rather, Ivo gets the knockup there. Movistar Riders will trade one back, actually. The kill going over to JaVaaa. And maybe
honestly,
K1ck bits off more than they can chew.
If K1ck can keep chasing them here, this is so worth, because Puki style got 2 towers and they might cash in on another kill.
Looks like beansu is just overstepped slightly, and Matislaw will get that.
Slightly.
Nice enough. Just that's slightly.
Overstepping to 4 members of K1ck.
Let's take a look at that again, Georgia, and we can sort of dive into what happened here for Movistar Riders.
K1ck didn't pull the trigger early enough because Matislaw was not there, but once the 2 LeBlanc arrives, baby, it's game. They unleash Shelly in the mid lane to try and take that tower, and while she's doing her own work, they're chasing down Movistar for dear life. And this was such a good call right here, because even though they didn't have Puki style, the health bars from Movistar were so low that honestly, a 4v5 was pretty okay for the side of K1ck. They chased them enough, show the lost Ivo, but they get so much time that they managed to split open the entire mid lane. And now this is LeBlanc and Lee Sin territory. Very scary to walk into if you're Movistar.
Yeah, Shlatan and Matislaw right now having an excellent game, and they need to use this advantage that they've got to accelerate this gold lead to continue to put pressure onto Movistar Riders, who have been seeking these skirmishes. And I'm questioning whether they have the composition to match up against K1ck at this portion of the game. What do you think about seeking these skirmishes so early? Movistar Riders have been coming out on the worst end of them. Do you think it was sensible for them to search for these fights, or do you think they had to, based on the way that the K1ck were playing?
Honestly, the Lissandra there is just a tool to try and contain a carry. Matislaw is rocking the cleanse, so he can't get necessarily locked down for too long, especially from the ultimate. And JaVaaa does need his Seraphs, which wasn't stacked in the previous fights. He just actually completed it to be able to have that extra shield to stay safe. He's going for the relay, so he's going to be building a little bit more HP. He's not tanky enough, and he can't survive enough being on such an immobile carry to play against a 3-0 or a 2-0, if you will, LeBlanc in the previous fight. So yes, I think Movistar are a little bit overzealous trying to take the skirmishes. I feel like the dragon was a gift. They should take that, run out, and try and defend their towers.
I guess they were in a tough situation around that dragon fight, though. Aibo was looking for a flank, and I guess beansu was just trying to create space with his ultimate to allow his team to escape. They did, for the most part, escape here as beansu now going to get locked up. Shlatan dives in. There's the root after root after root, and beansu will not be able to escape with his ultimate. He'll go down to Shlatan in the end. Yeah, I know, about 3,000 years later, but doesn't go down in the end, and it will be Shlatan picking up the kill.
And look what the duo is. Shlatan and Matislaw on the side, whilst Aibo is defending the top tower. So all in all, K1ck end up losing nothing. 4,000 gold in the lead for a Polish squad right here, and they continue strong. Again, Shlatan is the shadow of Matislaw wherever he is, and I don't know in what way, shape or form Movistar can actually stop that split, because I'm not sure that anyone is strong enough from Movistar solo to be able to stop them. Oh, Xico.
Yeah, Xico, he's trying to clear it out, but really you're just in an awkward spot right now. The kick comes through. Xico will escape. But again, it was not the ideal teleport. He really could not clear that wave quickly enough. And Matislaw and Shlatan very happy to just make that dive happen, even whilst the tower was going down.
It's a good thing, though, because you burn the flash from Shlatan, so you know he doesn't have the ability to flash K1ck on the next fight, which means JaVaaa will be a little bit more safe hitting his skills and his spells on the back line, and all eyes, I feel like, are gonna be on him and Eloya to dish out the damage needed to take K1ck down in this crucial later game fight. Remember, K1ck is a team that generally finish their games 30 minutes and under, so they have 8 more minutes to seal the deal, unless they want to prove to all of us, Scoundrel, that they're actually a late game team.
Well, they have got Puki style on the Aphelios, so there is definitely late game damage, there's late game pick potential, and I say that Aibo, looking for the engage onto JaVaaa here, will not find it, and the knockup isn't there either. Now Puki style diving in, just forcing Movistar Riders back. A warning shot fired before this next dragon, which, again, I do think Movistar Riders are in a good position to contest if they want to. No one has gone down as of yet.
But
there is still some
crucial Ornn ult burned, and Movistar have all of their ultimates up and available. I think it's very clever for them to not pick a fight right here. The skirmishes have not been favoring them. They're not scaled up to where they want to be yet. Oh, Shlatan.
beansu's looking for it on the front line right now. He is very tanky, but maybe not tanky enough as Shlatan dives in, looks for a kick here, potentially a nice one as it gets a double knock-up on the backside, and Matislaw dives in, but wait a second, Eloya is untouched. He's still going on right now. This is all over the place. JaVaaa still alive, and Movistar Riders seemingly biting back at K1ck here. It is still a favourable trade for K1ck, but the HP bars look good for Movistar Riders in terms of JaVaaa and Eloya.
Okay, I'm gonna be honest. I didn't know who was alive and who was dead up to the end of this fight.
Nor did I. I didn't have a clue. But at the end, it is JaVaaa and Eloya that come out. It is a favourable trade.
I think Xico had a sick ultimate onto Puki style. He manages to find that immobile AD on the backline. So he must throw the claw here. Yep, and he finds Puki style straight up, locks him in. Great ult by beansu on his last breath right there, and they managed to lock down the ADC from K1ck, although Matislaw is just hopping, skipping around the map, unaffected. Sure, half HP LeBlanc, but she can pop any full HP member on Movistar whenever. So in the end, again, and a sick flank from Shlatan from what I saw right there. Matislaw and Shlatan are the name of the game, baby. Let's go.
Eloya just looking for a way out of this situation. He had a very greedy play to go for that red buff steal, and he gets punished for it with the teleport coming through. That could be. It could be, and they do have the Aphelios here. Not with the correct setup to make the Baron go down super quickly, but it does look like it's going to force a response out of Movistar Riders. That is an unfortunate error for Eloya. A little bit overconfident with his positioning here as the ultimate comes through from Ibo, who's searching for it onto JaVaaa, and Matislaw now just needs to seal the deal on the backline. There's already a lot of damage coming through from Movistar Riders, but they aren't finding the executes like they saw in the last fight, and suddenly, K1ck, they start to ramp things up. It's Matislaw zoning away rhuckz and JaVaaa. It is going to be a clean sweep of the rest of the team as Matislaw jumps in and finds him. Finally, JaVaaa going down. This might just be the Baron now. Movistar Riders did not want that fight.
Yeah, probably you should ban this man's Zoe. After this game, you should ban this man's LeBlanc. Maybe we should see what he's going to do to go in the next game as well, because he is on fire in this series. His positioning yet again zoned the entirety, well, the remaining entirety at least, of Movistar in the bot side of this river. Great ult right there onto the Cassiopeia to knock her up by the Ornn. And look at that. JaVaaa cannot go in. Neither can rhuckz, because Matislaw is sneaking on the sideline and he is baiting them. He is daring them to try and take one step more than what they did forward to destroy them. Such great play coming in from K1ck.
Yeah, and Matislaw again just doing his job in these fights. You know, his job is to make sure JaVaaa can get nowhere near the rest of his team. And without JaVaaa...
That's for the entire game. Come on.
Without JaVaaa, there's no real damage, I feel, from Movistar Riders. At least no consistent damage in these team fights. So if Matislaw does his job and just says, all right, JaVaaa, step up, mate. Feel free to find an opening, and I will just one-bop you. Then, you know, if Matislaw can do that, then, you know, I feel like it's a good spot. Xico getting chased down by Shlatan here as he dives back forward again. Here comes beansu, maybe an overcommit. I mean, I'm not sure what that Q was about, my dude. I don't think it was the optimum placement. Matislaw maybe looking to find one pick on the end. He dives in onto Eloya. The chain does land, but doesn't get the second connect.
Oh,
K1ck trying to trade back. Yeah, Ibo, he does get thrown out by the showstopper. rhuckz cannot allow that ultimate to come through. He'll save the lives of his backline carries. And finally, Movistar finds some kind of edge in a fight.
A little bit of overconfidence right there from K1ck, which we have seen them have a lot, gets instantly punished by a squad like Movistar have right here. They crash in on some very crucial shutdowns as well, which is what they want. And I want to touch on what you said. JaVaaa has the only consistent damage coming through from the side of Movistar. The Graves, if you can see, is going for the more tanky-ish build than the armor pen build we've seen him go for if he is ahead in the early game. And of course, you want to be a little bit more tanky going against the likes of a very fed LeBlanc as well on the enemy team. Lissandra, sure, she's mainly a CC bot. She does damage if she falls onto Puki style, sure, but she's mainly there to try and contain the entirety of K1ck onto one place to allow JaVaaa to wreak havoc in the backline, sure. But if your only consistent damage is an AP Cassiopeia, it's so easily itemized against. You see, Puki style, he has the Hex trigger in case that Lissandra falls on him, and itemizing against JaVaaa. You see the adaptive helm being built by Ibo on the top side, so he can remain even longer on that front line. So the itemization is falling into place from K1ck so easily because they know that that Graves, who's the only source of AD damage, cannot provide that consistent damage that Movistar is looking for.
Yeah, and speaking of items, you mentioned the Hex Drinker there on Aphelios. He's nearly at 3 items. You know, Puki style has gone under the radar a little bit in terms of the slow power creep that he's been showing. But, you know, he's getting there. He's getting to that 3-item Aphelios, which does give a huge amount of late-game damage. I quite like Eloya's build, like you said. I think the Death Dance and the Black Cleaver suit this composition quite well. You want to prevent some burst damage coming in from Matislaw, and you want to be able to get through the tanky front line, so having the Black Cleaver is definitely going to help out a little bit. I think it was the correct decision to make, but I do agree with your assessment. You know, I think the Cassiopeia being your major form of consistent damage is definitely easier to choose in terms of itemization about where you go defensively, and I think already we're seeing that come out from K1ck. We are now heading into 30 minutes. They have the Dragon Soul up next, and obviously with the Baron on the card soon as well, that might be a target for them.
Okay, so I know a lot of you guys are haters of the Cloud Soul, okay? I am a firm believer that especially in this meta that the teams go so far into the late game and they manage to skill on their ultimates 3 times, to skill up on their ultimates 3 times, which means that The cooldown is reduced significantly, as well as from the items. The Cloud Soul makes it so much more repeatable, and on a champion like LeBlanc, that the ultimate is not necessarily that long. It can be very crucial on these long drawn-out fights that Movistar want to play around if Matislaw can use his ultimate 2 or even 3 times.
What I would say, and I completely agree with that as well, by the way, but speaking of the dragons, is Movistar did a good job of delaying Dragon Soul. Like, they've got 2 dragons to their name. You know, they've delayed the Soul point take for quite some time into this game, giving them that ability to scale up a bit. And speaking of scaling, you know, we're at the 3 items to Cassiopeia.
No. Oh my god!
No, he was just toying around, Trouble. He wasn't really going for it. And
I was
no
like, no, don't do it now. Baron is coming up.
Speaking of that setup, it looks like Xico's going to dive in and claim it. I do think Shlatan actually smited that away, so they will get the blue buff success, although Ibo's going to open things up with the Call of the Forge God. Dives in. Oh my word, JaVaaa, he can't even bloody move. He's already gone. That's the main damage taken out now for Movistar Riders, and k1ck are starting to rear up the back. They're going for the damage from Puki style. He's untouched as usual. They are so preoccupied with Shlatan and Matislaw that Puki style continues to hit down onto beansu, down onto Eloya, as k1ck look to secure their second Baron of the game. This should be easy as you like from the boys from Poland. They had a really good fight there. That's a brilliant take, and it's going to allow them to open up this game massively so.
You know what? I think that was a little bit of an overchase. Like, you kill 3 people, chill out, take the tower, go Baron. But this is how you assert dominance, ex-scoundrel. k1ck are in it for blood. You know, a Go Rogue just got eliminated a few minutes ago, but k1ck want Poland to be represented in the finals, and if there was a more k1ck way to do it, this is it. It's dominance from minute 1. So I think that's a little bit of an unnecessary skirmish right there. Again, from Movistar, you don't have to contest for the blue buff. Just let it go and try to take control of the top side of your jungle, because Baron is about to spawn. Poor JaVaaa, man. He just get chain CC to death. I don't even know if he was able to pop his shield from the Seraphs. And the person who did the most damage in this fight, I think, was the support Sett for the side of Movistar.
It's rough. I mean, just look at Shlatan and Matislaw diving in and out, constantly providing threats for Movistar Riders to think about. And again, this is what I've noticed about the team fights from k1ck. You're so worried about Ibo, you're so worried about Matislaw. Puki style never becomes a concern until it's too late. Like, Puki style has almost never been a focus for, I think, for any team that's faced up against k1ck. Yet he's now 3-2-12 with a ridiculous number of items to back him up. He's a threat that you have to worry about alongside Matislaw, alongside Shlatan, who gets the kick onto Eloya, looking for it with the Call of the Forge God now from Ibo, bounces it back, although it's a great showstopper, and JaVaaa actually picks up the kill onto Raxxo. They'll trade back onto rhuckz as Shlatan tries to bait the rest of them around. Xico now maybe in the wrong place at the wrong time, and Puki style completely whiffs his ultimate. Ibo, however, still just there. He's unkillable. JaVaa's trying his best, but that adaptive helm doing the work. And k1ck once more find a favourable skirmish in the jungle.
What's that? You're missing ultimates, you're missing crucial spells. Doesn't matter, you're 10k ahead. You can do whatever the heck you want at this point, ex-scoundrel. You can miss all of them to even BM your opponent and get into their mental if you want and if you're k1ck. And this is exactly what they're doing right now. They want blood. They're gonna win this game, which most likely looks like it, more than 30 minutes in. You want early? We've got it. You want mid? We've got it. You want late? We've got it, baby.
Yeah, they do, and I really think that's coming through from how unkillable Ibo is right now as well. You saw JaVaaa, it was like a feather tickling a pillow. He was just untouchable. That's like a terrible analogy. A feather tickling a pillow, that's a terrible analogy. A feather tickling a brick wall, I guess. He was unkillable. JaVaaa could not burn through it. Let's take a look at that fight again. Let's break down what happened here for Movistar Riders.
So it's the correct mentality. They're using beansu to try and get some vision into the bot side of their jungle, which is not theirs anymore, and they get caught. Now, of course, the Morgana pushed a little bit far forward. Raxxo goes down, but it's fine because they've got so much damage. And like you've mentioned before, they've got so much consistent damage as well coming in from Puki, who has been going unnoticed the entire game because he's not necessarily a priority for Movistar to kick. I think their priority is to try and get Matislaw down so they're not zoned by the LeBlanc anymore. Once they take him down, maybe they can look to kill Puki, but they've only taken down Matislaw once, so he's looking a little bit unlikely.
I think it's difficult because the only two people that you've got, I think, to realistically threaten Puki style on the back line is Xico and beansu, and then the Black Shield kind of throws down a real issue for you. Although as beansu diving in, he is trying to get onto Puki style here, but again the Black Shield just makes him untouchable as he flashes away. He still had that flash up for absolutely ages, finally getting some utility out of it, and the ultimate flies through. He'll get the kill onto rhuckz, and he will go down at the start of this fight, and Matislaw still there, still poking on the outside as JaVaaa has to worry about his positioning at every step of the way in this fight. Movistar Riders, they just cannot find the openings they need to do the real damage that is necessary to shut down this K1ck roster. K1ck pushing forward, another inhibitor turret on the go as they find yet another kill. Raxxo picking it up onto Eloya, and surely now, with the minions, this should be K1ck finding the first game in this series versus Movistar Riders.
Yeah, and K1ck are following rhuckz's footsteps. They're winning the first game, but hopefully they might be giving a win to Poland overall and win the series. This is looking so convincing from the Polish squad. They finished a game 36 minutes in. This is officially late game scandal. They've officially done it.
Yeah, this was a slow game for K1ck, and they certainly look good so far. Never at one point in that game did I feel like they were out of control, and it really started super early on with those level 2s in lane, establishing dominance from the mid to bot side and allowing Shlatan to do his thing, and they never let up on the pressure. And again, Matislaw playing his role in that game perfectly. For me, I think him and Ibo again stepping up when the team needed them. They were both excellent in these team fights and skirmishes. That top side of the map, when it is on form, when the top side of the map is on form for K1ck, they look almost untouchable, and Ibo and Matislaw again had another perfect game.
True, and when the top side of the map is in such a form like you mentioned, the bot goes so unnoticed that suddenly a 3 to 4 item Aphelios joins the fight. You're like, whoa, where did this come from? We've been so busy trying to figure out how to beat the LeBlanc Sion combo that we completely forgot about this insanely scaling ADC down bot lane, which we now can't kill either.
Well, K1ck find the first win, replicating what AGO did in their semi-final, but can they close it out? We're going to go to a quick break, and when we're back, our analyst desk will break down that first game.
You've seen our name on the jerseys of amazing teams. Now, we are supporting one more. One that you don't see live on TV. But they are the best team in the world, and they are playing the toughest game. Maybe they're not performing in front of millions, but they are under the pressure of an entire planet. And they don't have fans cheering their names, but they have patients who will forever remember them. And they also need your help to win this game. Stay home like a pro.
And welcome back to EU Masters, ladies and gentlemen, and everyone else. Put down your fidget spinners and let's talk about that first game. So, straight out the gates, K1ck shut down the fun, the shenanigans that Movistar were pulling out in terms of the draft. It was a 15-minute laning phase, and we were talking a lot about what this Cassio Sett was going to do into the Morgana Aphelios, and as the teamfight broke out, it just felt like K1ck, they had the advantage there.
I think there was a lot of time given over to both sides as well, especially when you have the Graves farming. But I think the big thing is you had so many ways to respond on the side of K1ck. You had the big Ornn ultimates as well, and the only way to respond to that was to try get Sett to ult Ornn away, which is just committing so much of your own team fight to cut down only a single part of theirs.
Yeah, I really liked the attempt by Movistar in the draft. Like, there were so many flex picks there, so many curveballs. Obviously, what's that word when something finishes off somewhere? Cumulative? I don't know what the word is. Something lating. Yeah. With the Lissandra pick. Culminating. We got
this.
Culminating. Yeah, that's the one. Thanks. And so I was expecting big things, and but they weren't able to get the priority from that mid lane against LeBlanc, and I think that really kind of shackled the Graves a little bit as well. So we weren't able to see it too much out of the
Dan, I was expecting that point to culminate in something a little bigger, much like this next Baron fight. We've got another replay now where, look, the majority of the game, it just kind of felt like K1ck were in control. You know, like it was fairly slow paced, it was fairly tempered. I saw a lot of people in Twitch chat actually asking if this was the LCK. But like, talk me through this replay now, Dan, and you know how we got to this point for K1ck to fairly confidently secure the Baron and then the game.
Well, you might be able to see. Oh, sorry. There's something there by the rocks. It's a gun. That is Graves' gun, because he's donezo. He's dead at this point because he went for a red buff invade, which led to a bit of a miserable effect there at the end. And I think at that point it's a 5v4. K1ck just force it, and they're very happy to do so. Their team fight with the Ornn, especially in like that small space, I really think it benefits them. And I just think that was a very peculiar thing to give up a Baron off of a pick like that from Eloya.
And you already had Matislaw doing so well in the LeBlanc as well, so you saw how quickly you were able to just continue the chase as LeBlanc here.
Yeah, definitely the case. I mean, Tig, looking at the game, when we zoom out, expectations-wise, Tinks was saying he didn't really know who was going to win this. We had the chance to interview him, and he was saying whoever shows up on the day, Movistar or K1ck could do this. He felt that Movistar could have had a bit of an edge, but this game, it just didn't feel like the draft worked out, and it kind of felt like K1ck was the better team. So, like, you know, what are expectations now looking forward, and what do you want to see from these teams to do and change?
So Foxdrop and I were discussing this earlier, and something we mentioned earlier is that Foxdrop may be a man of the people, but I love myself a lovely underdog story. And based on the poll, we saw people slightly leading Poland's way. So I'm over here joining Spain, the Superliga Orange, who've had consistent showings every European Masters. Have they won everyone? No, but they've always managed to find their way into those top spots.
What is this whole setup? What is this whole setup? What are you standing with Movistar for? This is not a political rally, my friend.
I'm going to put something on the line here. Something that has been appreciated by many and will now... I'm going to say I will shave this beard so badly that it will resemble Foxdrop's attempt at facial hair. If Movistar can't turn this around.
Okay. Firstly, mate, I don't actually have a good response. Secondly...
Okay, hang on, here. So what we're trying to say is, you're putting a bet on the line now, okay? So you're talking about it. Okay, clearly lay this out. You're going to shave if... Mm-hmm.
If Movistar don't turn this series, if they don't win, I will shave this down.
Wait, no, that's me. If they don't win, I'm the man of the people. I'm the Polska Gudon, mate. K1ck's gonna win.
Yes.
So if
with Movistar.
Yeah.
Okay.
So if they turn it around, you have to. Honestly, firstly, just want to say, lock your windows, lock your doors, because people will be throwing themselves at you when you don this look. Trust me, it's more of a curse than a blessing. Having such a handsome accessory, it's just
I'm being told from production that Twitch chat is saying the bear must shave. I believe that's a compliment. I think that's a compliment. Based on your grin.
I mean, I've never been to a bar on those nights personally, but I don't think I'm the clientele.
We don't have much time. The bet is set. If K1ck win, and it is Polska Gudon, then that means that Tig is shaving. And if Movistar win, what is Dan doing here? Because there has to be some stakes, right?
That's a good shout. What do we decide on? I think I've got a hype up Movistar in a terrible Irish accent. I generally think.
Oh my word!
To commit to the Irish side, okay.
Yeah, okay. I've got to be Irish.
Well, listen, just so you know, as far as polls are concerned, the highest victory poll so far, 85%, want Celtic Tiger to shave. The stakes are set here from the broadcast team. We didn't quite get to that much analysis, but I do think the entertainment side was nailed this segment. And now there's some hella high stakes. Let's see if we're going to end it in the next one or whether or not we're going to game 3. Oh, the bear is going to shave. We'll see you on the other side of this ad break.